This is the story of a compassionate mechanic, James, who sacrifices his Thanksgiving dinner with his family to help a struggling mother in need. James' small act of kindness transforms his life in ways he could never have imagined, proving that true generosity never goes unrewarded. Hi everyone, welcome to Kindness Talks. Today I'm excited to share a new story with you. James was a humble and selfless mechanic, known in his small town for his unmatched dedication to helping anyone in need, no matter the cost to his own time or comfort. When the garage bell rang at 4:30 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day, the last thing James expected was to find a weary mother of three standing at the counter, her hands trembling as she clutched her car keys. "Please," she said, her voice breaking, "I know it's a holiday, but I don't know what else to do. My car broke down on the highway, and I need to get home to my family tonight." James had been a mechanic for over 20 years. He prided himself on being dependable, but Thanksgiving was sacred. His wife had spent the day cooking, their kids were excited for their yearly movie marathon, and his own family rarely got moments like this together anymore. But there was something in the woman's eyes, a desperation that reminded him of the struggles he had once faced. Without hesitation, James wiped his hands on his grease-stained apron and said, "Let's take a look." The woman's name was Rachel. Her car had broken down 2 hours outside her hometown, where her parents and siblings were waiting for her and her kids. She explained how she had spent most of her savings on food and gifts for the family, leaving little for emergencies like this. The repairs weren't simple. The alternator was shot, and parts would need replacing. It was a job that would typically take hours, and most mechanics would have sent her away on a holiday. But James saw the three kids huddled together in her car, their faces pressed against the window, and he couldn't bear to turn them away. He called his wife to explain, expecting frustration, but she only sighed and said, "That's just who you are, James. Do what you need to do." He promised he'd be home soon, though deep down, he wasn't sure he could keep that promise. The hours dragged on as James worked tirelessly. Rachel insisted on helping where she could, handing him tools and asking questions about what he was doing. She shared bits of her story, a single mom trying to make ends meet, doing her best to create a sense of normalcy for her kids despite the challenges. James listened, his heart aching for her struggles, and it reminded him of his own childhood when his father worked long hours just to put food on the table. By the time the car was ready, it was past 10 p.m. Rachel was overcome with gratitude, tears streaming down her face as she hugged James tightly. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. "You've saved my Thanksgiving." But James wasn't done yet. He discreetly filled her gas tank and handed her an envelope. "Take this," he said. "It's not much, but it might help you get through the holidays." Rachel opened it to find a $100 bill inside. She tried to refuse, but James insisted. The family drove off into the night, waving from the car as James watched them disappear down the road. Exhausted but fulfilled, he finally headed home. When he walked through the door, his family was still waiting, the Thanksgiving feast untouched. "We saved it for you," his wife said, smiling. The story could have ended there, but fate had more in store for James. A few days later, a sleek black car pulled into his garage, and a man in an expensive suit stepped out. "Are you James?" he asked. When James nodded, the man handed him a letter. "You helped my daughter Rachel last week. I wanted to thank you in person, but she told me you wouldn't accept anything. So, I thought you should know who you really helped." James opened the letter and was stunned. Rachel's father was a prominent businessman, a billionaire who had quietly supported countless charities and community projects. The letter contained an offer, a grant to expand James' garage into a state-of-the-art facility, complete with new equipment and additional staff. Tears welled in James' eyes as he looked at the man. "I didn't do it for a reward," he said. "I know," the man replied. "That's why you deserve it." James accepted the offer, not for himself, but for the opportunities it would bring to his small-town community. His kindness had created a ripple effect, and in the years that followed, he became known not just as a mechanic but as a beacon of generosity and hope. The Thanksgiving he thought he'd missed turned out to be the one that changed his life forever, proving that sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness can lead to the greatest rewards.